I'm Mogi, and this is every sound you've ever heard in your entire life. Music, more so than most forms of media, I think, has the ability to, like a certain song or album, can just transport you to a different time and place. It starts up, you get a little bit of that synth going. Now it's 2008, you're moshing with your... But yeah, music's a nostalgic thing. It can give you that a little drip of serotonin we're all craving, you know? Those deep cuts. But what if I told you you could get one of these deep cuts, you could achieve that same effect, to get that same sweet hit of dopamine with a single sound? Well, here's the thing, you can. And I will prove it by playing this one sound. I would be willing to bet if you spent any amount of your childhood in the late 90s or early 2000s and you spent that time watching any amount of television or movies, you have heard that sound. And if those things apply to you and you haven't, you're lying, or you ruined my example, and fuck you. That sound is one of many stock sound effects, which I would call a very deep cut. In fact, it's like burned into my brain with a lot of these other ones. I feel like if you recognize that one, you'll definitely recognize some of the other ones, and I will get to those. I'm going to meander a bit to get there, because when I started, I sort of stumbled upon this treasure trove of deep cuts by accident. I was researching other stock sound effects, much more recognizable ones. So that's actually where we're going to start. I'll take you on the same little journey that I went on before I fell down this seemingly endless rabbit hole. Here we go. Starting at the top, you've got like the granddad of all stock sound effects, the Wilhelm scream, and his slightly less famous cousin, the Howie scream. The Wilhelm scream has been used in over 100 movies. It's a guy yelling ow or something. It sounds goofy. A lot of people incorrectly assume that this sound is from Star Wars. It's actually not true. First time the Wilhelm scream got used is in a 1951 movie called Distant Drums, right? Why do I keep blanking on that name? The Wilhelm scream actually first appeared in a 1951 movie called Distant Drums in this scene. It was actually used in several other movies following that. There's this weird one where people get eaten by ants. I don't know. There are other examples. But initially, it was just named appropriately Man Getting Eaten by Alligator. And one of those movies that it was subsequently used in 1953, was called The Charge at Feather River. Enter Ben Burt. This dude, ever hear of Michael Jordan? Ever hear of Peyton, Tom Brady? This dude is like that for sound design. Greatest of all time. Ben Burt is responsible for the sound design of Star Wars, which is how the whole Wilhelm Star Wars thing gets twisted. He's responsible for the sounds lightsabers make, lasers in all the Star Wars movies, Darth Vader's breathing. Every like iconic sound from Star Wars, this guy pretty much came up with. He voiced the beeps and boops for R2-D2. That's Ben Burt. He's that guy. But more importantly, I think he also had a sense of humor because in addition to all those iconic sounds, he threw in a couple memes. One of the movies that I mentioned earlier, the 1953 Charge at Feather River, this is the way they decided to use the stock sound effect then known as Man Eaten by Alligator.
Wilhelm! Yeah, I'll just fill my pipe.
used it like 4 or 5 times. Like, it's already not that great of a scream. And then they just reuse it. I don't know. It only makes it more obvious or draws more attention to the fact that it's a stock sound. It was the 50s, whatever. But you'll notice right before this guy gets shot with an arrow, you hear off screen one guy yells, Wilhelm! Yeah, Ben Burt thought that was funny, I guess, and that's the Wilhelm. He made a stormtrooper. Stormtrooper yells it when he gets shot, falls down the thing. And now he also used it in like every other Star Wars movie, maybe. Indiana Jones for sure. And then everyone else also thought it was funny, I guess, and everyone just keeps using Wilhelm. Even now, still a lot of Wilhelms in movies. So yeah, while it's not original to Star Wars, was made by the GOAT Ben Burt from Star Wars, or he named it Wilhelm anyway. It's from that other. Now you know. And apart from Wilhelm, the lesser known Howie that I mentioned, named after Howie Long, who I think was like a wrestler or something. I don't know. True to form, though, while named after Howie, as Wilhelm was Wilhelm in A Charge of Feather River, Howie's named after Howie in Broken Arrow, which is an action movie that came out after the Howie Scream's original use. The Howie Scream came from a movie that came out 16 years earlier called The Ninth Configuration. Here's the original use. Similar to the Wilhelms, I think, like, weirdly enough, even though it's not a great soundbite, it works in the context of the scene happening. And as soon as you take it out and put it anywhere else, it makes it hilarious, but people keep doing it, whatever. So yeah, that's kind of where I was. I was looking at those two sounds because I pretty much knew all that stuff going into this video. I knew there were other stock sound effects, screams, like this one. Like, I knew I had heard that one before, and I knew it almost certainly like came from the same thing as Howie, but I didn't know for sure. So I started poking around the internet. And in my research, as I was poking around, I found it. I found where all these things came from. And sure enough, it all is from one source. So on August 13th of 1990, a company called The Hollywood Edge released the Premiere Edition Volume 1, which is a general sound effects stock library. Happens to be one of the most popular general sound effects collections available, and it physically consists of 20 CDs and 1,458 sound effects. So it makes sense for the time. Obviously, no internet, so not as easy to share and create sound assets. But oh my God, everyone in Hollywood used this exact same thing. But yeah, that's basically what this video is just me finding out that the Premiere Edition Volume 1 exists. Because I listened to a lot of it, and the whole thing, the entire track list is just one deep cut after the other. Thankfully, I'm not the only one who's haunted by these sound effects. There's a Reddit thread where one user called this children laughing giggle thing the Diddy laugh because it's on the startup screen of Diddy Kong Racing. His post went on to receive hundreds of comments of people citing other examples of movies, TV shows, video games that have used the Diddy laugh, which I guess is now one of its other nicknames. I'll leave the track list in the description so you can go look at it yourself. Any sound you click on, some are more popular than others, but you'll see where people have actually linked examples of where they've found this sound effect used in other media. Yeah, I guess now we'll just get straight into the content, right? This is what you came for. You want all those other weird sounds. Why don't we start out with the rest of the human noises? Because we've already got the screams. So between Wilhelm, Howie, that third weird scream, I feel like these ones are also somewhat recognizable. Like, I've at least heard these ones before. But some of these other human ones, like, it gets a little more logical. Like, even the Diddy laugh is an example. Like, child actors are notoriously just bad. So having something like children laughing on a stock sound effect makes a little more sense. Even worse than kids, babies. Obviously, getting a baby to do anything on camera is probably going to be next to impossible. So having babies crying, pretty reasonable stock sound effect idea. Unless it's the same baby in every movie. Exhibit A. Exhibit B, baby. See what I'm saying? But apart from children laughing or babies crying, there are other human sounds that are, I guess, more difficult for actors to make. Like there's knuckles popping. This one whistle that I don't know how to do. But more importantly, and this will easily be the best part of the video, are burps and farts. That's what I want to see. Authentic farts. You should be clipping a lapel mic to the back of someone's pants and getting multiple takes. Beefy Frito burritos on hand. I think because of the nature of most of these sounds being difficult to perform on command, as well as most actors just being too scared to perform them themselves, we've got these sound effects that are used a lot. Farts. Action sounds. How come every time in a movie someone loads a gun, it sounds like this? You also go. Or if they're using swords instead of guns, you... Car sounds. Or if they peel out. They're in a traffic jam. And a crash. Animals. Probably difficult to get to cooperate on a set. So we got a chimp. This one says a wolf. I didn't know it was a wolf, but I've definitely heard that sound a lot. This one tripped me up for sure. Wooden doors. Even more so than the wooden one, though. This one metal door, it always just... So many metal doors. This alarm beeping, like this sound of your plane going down if you're Mrs. Incredible. Or like, you know, just like anytime something malfunctions in movies, it's always this beep, you know? This slosh! And then last but not least, this one of jar breaking. I like it. It makes me think of playing Legend of Zelda. Just indiscriminately smashing pots into every building I walk into. But yeah, man. Crazy time being in audio production in the 90s and 2000s. Just every baby and explosion and scream sounded the same. I don't know. I hope that hearing some of those sounds blew your mind as much as they did mine. That's pretty much it. I hope you liked it. Hope maybe you learned something. You laughed. You got a deep cut. We will have a new episode of Frick Boys coming soon. Episode of Zach of All Trades. That's all I have for you. Stay safe.